Yes.
Okay, I think we are ready to begin.
You think?
Good.
You must be sure. Sorry, I'm in a crazy mood. I've been running today as if I was in full working mode. So I'm firing on 6 cylinders at the moment.
Okay.
Maybe I'll just mute myself.
Okay, so we are learning the laws of Tefilin, and we're going through a few more of the important things to bear in mind when wearing the Tefillin, how one needs to have the right intention when one puts them on, how they are two separate mitzvahs, the hand Tefillin and the head Tefillin. We spoke about a left-handed person, the dimensions of the straps. We spoke yesterday about the straps not being twisted, neither about dropping the Tefillin. And finally, we spoke about if you do take them back off and you want to put them back on, how to go about that. We continued by speaking about how one should be mindful of the holiness of the Tefillin, and therefore, although one may have a snack in them, one may not sleep at all for the different reasons that are suggested why it is forbidden to sleep. One of the reasons that are suggested is because a person is in less control of their body while they are sleeping. And now we are up to, we discussed 17, touching the Tefillin, especially when we mentioned them in the Shema. We spoke about how everything should be always growing in holiness and certainly not detracting, and how the Tefillin bag cannot be used for anything other than the Tefillin, nothing of any lower holiness than that. And now we move on to removing the Tefillin. So he says the Tefillin should not be removed until after the Kedusha of Oval Etzion, when we say, may it be your will that we keep your mitzvahs. So so that's when we remove out, we can only remove out the tefillin after saying that section within the Oval Etzion prayer. What he doesn't mention over here, although it's brought in the commentaries of the original Shulchan Aruch, is that some have the custom of keeping the tefillin on until the Kaddish after Oval Etzion, so that the tefillin are worn for a total of 3 Kadeshim. The first would be just before Baruch Hu. The second would be after finishing the Amidah. And the third would be after Ashrei and Oval Etzion. So we want to have the tefillin on for all 3 Kaddishes. This doesn't include the Kaddish that is recited on the Torah when we read from the Torah. So that is preferable to hold it on until the Kaddish after Oval Etzion. And the Shulchan Aruch brings that the Arizal was particular on keeping the tefillin on all the way until the end of Ba'al Kaid, which comes straight after Aleinu L'Shabeach, till the end of prayer. And some have the custom of keeping it on all the way to the last Kaddish. So in summary, there's no reason to take the tefillin off before the very end of davening. It's not good to keep them on. But if for whatever reason you would like to take them off, then keep them on until the Oval Etzion prayer, in the middle of the Oval Etzion prayer. He says that in some communities they only return the Torah to the Ark after saying Ashrei and Oval Etzion. That is actually the Chabad custom. It's not the Ashkenazi custom. And in such communities, one would need to keep one's tefillin on until the Torah is returned to the Ark. And a mnemonic for this order is the king will pass in front of them and Hashem will be at their heads. So when the king, as in the Torah, passes in front of us, we want to have Hashem on our heads, meaning the name of Hashem on our tefillin. So we don't take off the tefillin until the Torah is returned to the Ark. On a day that a circumcision is performed, the bris, this is specifically if the bris is taking place right after davening, immediately after davening, not if there is a gap in between, because as we will learn soon, nowadays we actually avoid wearing the tefillin unnecessarily. We only wear them for the davening. Once upon a time, people would wear them all day, but today we're not as conscious of the holiness of the tefillin and of what's going on with our body, and therefore we should take them off as soon as we're done davening or learning right after davening. But if the bris is taking place right after davening, then we should keep the tefillin on until after the bris. Why is that? Because, well, let's see if you could figure it out. Why did we say that? Why don't we wear the tefillin on Shabbos? Do you remember?
Yes, because it's a siman.
Good. It's a sign.
That was my question yesterday.
Good. Exactly.
And you said you don't need two signs. You've got the sign of Shabbos.
Correct. Now, when it comes to the bris, we actually use the opposite logic. We say that since the bris is a sign on our skin, and the tefillin is a sign, so let the two signs come together. Okay. Now, it is
So
worth mentioning.
why would there be these kacha? You know, one day it works this way and one day it works that way.
So I'll tell you something more. In some communities, they specifically take the tefillin off before the bris because they say that the godly light that radiates by a bris is equivalent to Shabbos and Yom Tov, and therefore we remove the tefillin beforehand. So I'm not really well versed in these somewhat more spiritual concepts. It could be an explanation, but often there seems to be opposite things. But when one zooms in a little more, one understands the difference. So, but my answer to you is I don't know.
Another question.
Yes.
It says here you've got to take it off, which I've seen when we've done it. When it's Rosh Chodesh, before we do the Musaf.
Yes.
And before Hallel. If one doesn't take it off, because you say you were supposed to wear it the whole day, so custom is now to take it off at these points. If one were not to take it off, have you done something wrong?
Not at all. These are more subtleties. They aren't real violations. In fact, I'll tell you something interesting. I'm not sure if he covers it in the Kitzur. If a person is stranded on Shabbos and they have the tefillin with them, or they're not stranded, but they have the tefillin with them and they have nowhere to leave the tefillin till after Shabbos, meaning, let's say you were delayed and you were going for a walk and it turns out that the sun sets and you have your tefillin with you. Now there's no Erev and you're not allowed to carry on Shabbos. So what do? If you could stay where you are till the end of Shabbos, then great. But if you can't, if it will be dangerous for you to stay where you are, you don't want to lose the tefillin. If you're going to leave the tefillin, they're going to get ruined. So the halacha is actually that on Shabbos, in those circumstances, you would actually put the tefillin on. That way you're wearing them. And once you're wearing them, it's not considered like you're carrying them. And that way you'd be able to bring the tefillin to a safe place. What that demonstrates is that there isn't a prohibition per se of tefillin on Shabbos. It's rather that it's just not the time for tefillin. Since Shabbos has whatever the tefillin have, therefore there's no need to be wearing tefillin. And once there's no need to be wearing them, they become muktzah, meaning anything that we do not plan on using on Shabbos is set aside from use, and therefore we don't handle them.
In your example, what I understand it and makes sense, what would you do with your tefillin bag? Is that also carrying or?
So what you would probably do in such a situation is you would probably have to leave the tefillin bag. Because although the tefillin bag has some level of holiness, I think there are still different levels of holiness.
So it's still considered carrying it.
Well, yeah, you would actually put the tefillin on. In fact,
now the tefillin you'd wear, but you can't wear the tefillin bag.
Exactly. Okay.
I know these sound like stupid questions, but I'm coming
gives
from
a better understanding. They're great.
I'm
Keep
coming
them
from
coming.
a point of zero knowledge, so I need to try and understand this properly.
I encourage everybody to keep asking questions. It makes it more interactive, so that way the information actually can more easily be internalized. So we're talking about taking the tefillin off, and we're saying that one can take them off after Aval Tzion unless the Torah is out. If the Torah is out, one should wait until the Torah is returned to the Ark. If there's a bris, So we remove this
Your sound's gone funny.
Oh no.
Can you repeat that, Rabbi? Your sound was very bad.
Okay, let's try this.
That's better. That's better.
Okay, if you have an issue again, please put your hands up and then I'll know to switch over.
Okay.
Okay. So I was just summarizing the laws of removing the tefillin, and we've mentioned that when we take them off and we keep them on for a bris, that again. Okay.
No good.
Okay, can you hear me now? Yes, you can. Okay, so once again, we're talking about removing the tefillin, and we're saying that at which point you take them off, and we're saying you keep them on for a bris on Rosh Chodesh. So once we daven Musaf, so we enter into an added holiness. It's almost like it's Yom Tov, and therefore we remove the tefillin before davening Musaf because, again, since it's already the holiness of Yom Tov, so we don't wear the tefillin for that. So we remove the tefillin before Musaf. Sometimes before Hallel, sometimes after Hallel. There are different customs about that as well. I believe in great part the custom is to keep them on Pesach, I think the first day of Pesach for the Torah reading, but otherwise they are removed during the repetition of the Amidah, if I remember correctly. On the intermediary days of Sukkot, everyone removes it. Okay, so we just discussed that. More about removing the tefillin. So we remove the tefillin while standing, just as we put them on while we were standing. He says you should first unwind the coils from the middle finger and 2 or 3 coils from the arm, meaning you start by removing the hand. The head, the shalrosh, is removed first. First we remove the head tefillin, and then we remove the hand tefillin. Why? Because it says that they shall be for you totafot between your eyes. Totafot is a reference to the tefillin, and it's a word that's used in the plural tense. And our rabbis learn that whenever you're wearing the head tefillin, you should be wearing both. Therefore, you never remove the hand tefillin first. You always first remove the head tefillin so that your head tefillin are always on together with the hand tefillin. That said, of course, if a person only was able to put on one of the two tefillin, then this wouldn't be relevant. So first you put on the hand tefillin, and first you remove the head tefillin. So whenever your head tefillin is on, the hand tefillin is also on. You should remove the Rishal Rosh with the left hand, which is a weaker hand, in order to demonstrate that you are reluctant to remove them. Because ideally, the mitzvah is to wear the tefillin the entire day. But because our bodies are not always clean, we remove them immediately after davening. You should not remove the tefillin in the presence of a Torah, nor in the presence of your Rebbe, but you should turn aside and remove them. It is a custom ordained by our sages to kiss the tefillin when putting them on and taking them off. You should not remove the talus until after you have removed the tefillin. Okay, so we found out when to take them off. We found out how to take them off. What should we do with them once we've taken them off? The tefillin should be placed inside their bag in a way that you will be certain the next day to take out the hand tefillin first. We discussed this a few days ago, how we don't want to pass over a mitzvah. Therefore, we want to be sure that when we take tefillin out, the first one we take out is the one that we're using. We put it on, and only then we take out the next tefillin. So bear that in mind when you're putting them away, to keep them in their respective places. However, you should not place the hand tefillin on top of the head tefillin, because the head tefillin is more holy than the hand tefillin. Rather, they should be side by side. The tefillin bag should be placed inside the talus bag below the talus. The talus should be on top in order that the talus is first at hand. As we discussed, because we don't want to skip over a mitzvah, and if you, on the other hand, we said that the talus should be worn first. So therefore, we put the talis on top and the tefillin underneath them. Okay. What happens if you have no tefillin and you arrive in shul where the shul is already davening? So it's preferable to wait until the end of the service and then borrow tefillin from the someone in order to daven with tefillin. So say the Shemona Esrei while wearing tefillin, rather than to daven with the minyan but without tefillin. So it's preferable to daven with tefillin than to daven with the minyan. However, if you are afraid that the time limit for Shema will elapse before you find the tefillin, you should say the Shema without tefillin. Similarly, if you're afraid that the time for davening will elapse, you should rather daven without the tefillin. On a day where sunrise is at 6 a.m. and sunset is at 6 p.m., the latest time for Shema would be 9 a.m., 3 hours into the day. And the latest time for davening would be 10 a.m., 4 hours into the day. If you didn't, you would still be able to daven after that, but that's the correct time to daven. So if you are before 10 a.m., then rather wait for the tefillin than daven with the minyan without the tefillin. Okay. Now, when you do put them on at a later point, so you'll need to make a bracha. So, she says if you daven without the tefillin, then put the tefillin on later, make a bracha, and you could just say some tehillim, some psalms, or you could wear them for mincha. However, as we've already learned, the night is not the proper time to wear tefillin, and it is forbidden to put them on at night. And once again, just like the talis, you're allowed to borrow somebody else's tefillin without their knowledge in order to put them on. As we mentioned, a person wants their articles to be used for a mitzvah. Nonetheless, you can only use them in the exact place that you find them. You're not allowed to take them anywhere. And certainly you need to put them away the way that you found them. Okay, thank you for joining us and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Rabbi. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Bye-bye.